Welcome back, students. We shall continue learning about plant tissues. We have studied about the meristematic tissue in the previous videos. Now we shall try to understand the remaining part of the lesson about plant tissues. Please observe the transverse section of a dicot stem. You can find an outer layer in the transverse section. The part of the tissue covering the entire surface of the plant body is the dermal tissue. You can observe this tissue in the Rio leaf peel or beetle leaf peel under the microscope. Dermal tissue usually consists of a single layer of cells showing variations in the type of cells based upon the function and the location. The most common cell is the epidermal cell. Above this epidermal cell layer, there is a waxy layer which is called the cuticle. This waxy layer or the cuticle prevents evaporative water loss. And then within the epidermis, there are bean-shaped cells called the guard cells. The guard cells are around an opening which is called the stomata. The stomata are specialized pores that allow gas exchange. The epidermis may also bear hair or trichomes which vary in size, density, texture and purpose. Now within the dermis, there are different layers based on the function and location. The outermost layer is the epidermis. There is a middle layer which is called the mesodermis, and then there is an innermost layer called the endodermis. Dermal tissue protects the soft tissue of plants. It controls interaction with the surroundings. The tissue protects plant from injury and water loss. It is there in all plants except in woody trees, where instead of this there is a bark. The bark is called the periderm. So periderm is ground tissue plus the vascular tissue. Even the root has this dermal tissue, but the root does not have the waxy cuticle. In case the root had this waxy cuticle, it would prevent absorption of water. So, root dermis does not have the waxy cuticle. The root hairs are extension of the root epidermal cells. They increase the surface area of the root, contributing to absorption of water and minerals. The next type of tissue is the ground tissue. This tissue forms the bulk of the plant body. It provides physical support to the plant. You can observe the ground tissue in the transverse section of the stem. You can observe that the cells appear larger with a nucleolus that appears prominent. So it forms the bulk of the plant body. The ground tissue is useful for storing food and for providing physical support to the plant body. There are mainly three types of ground tissues. One is the parenchyma, then you have the collenchyma and the sclerenchyma. The cells of parenchyma are soft, thin-walled and they are loosely packed. Parenchyma which contains chloroplast is called chlorenchyma. Parenchyma which contains large air cavities or spaces is called aerenchyma. The parenchyma which stores water or food or waste products is called storage tissue. The next type of ground tissue is the collenchyma. Collenchyma tissues are thick-walled. They are longer when compared with the parenchyma. In the sclerenchyma, the cells are thick-walled and they are tightly packed without spaces. So, when compared to dermal tissue, the ground tissue is of various types. And some of the cells of the ground tissue, they help in photosynthesis. Now, we know that roots can absorb water from the soil and send it to other parts of the plant. The leaves and the green part prepares food and supplies it to all parts of the plant. How does this supply happen? So there are tissues involved in transportation. That is how water from the roots can be sent to all parts and food from the leaves can be sent to all parts. So these tissues which are involved in transportation are called the vascular tissues. So they are comprised of different types of cells and they show specific arrangements. It can be observed in the TS transverse section of a stem. Vascular plants have a vascular system that is responsible for the transport of materials throughout the plant. This vascular system is comprised of permanent tissues called vascular tissues. There are two major types of vascular tissues. One is the xylem and the other one is the phloem. Xylem is the vascular tissue that transports water and nutrients from the roots to the shoots and leaves. It is done through passive transport. In taller plants, it is done by capillary action along with transpiration. This is to enable the transport against the force of gravity. It is because it is going against the force of gravity, capillary action has to be coupled with transpiration. In angiosperms, the xylem is comprised of xylem parenchyma, xylem fiber or sclerenchyma, tracheids and xylem vessels. The xylem is the primary component of wood in woody plants. Based on the stage and origin of growth, a xylem may be classified as primary xylem or secondary xylem. Phloem is the vascular tissue that enables translocation. Translocation is the process of transporting materials to all parts of the plant. In angiosperms, the phloem is comprised of sieve elements, companion cells, phloem sclerenchyma and phloem parenchyma. Just like the xylem, the phloem may be classified as primary or secondary depending upon the stage or origin of growth. In woody plants, the phloem is part of the bark.